Good morning.
Morning.
Good afternoon, I think, actually. Is that right? 12, 15? Whoa, we are really flying today, okay? My name is Marvin Gittens. Hopefully, yes, my name is there. Any of you recognize me at all?
Yes.
Hands? So I don't feel alone? Okay, great. There's some beautiful people in here, some people that have brought me through some stuff. Like my man Bull over here, I needed to do a paper, and he came through as an interviewer. Remember that? My sister over here, oh man, I can't even tell you. Okay, guys, my purpose today is not actually to preach a sermon. I apologize, okay? My purpose today is actually to tell you my story. And I hope you guys don't mind a good story or a bad one, depending. But it is important for us to share with each other our story. And I'd really like you guys to know mine. Hopefully you guys will get to know me better, and I'll get to know you guys better. The reality is, my story actually is kind of a sermon, because our stories are sermons. By our stories, we're able to tell people what Jesus is like, his love, his goodness, his mercy, as it operated and moved, as he moved in our lives. So, looking at the text in Ephesians chapter 3, let's just look at it for a second. Ephesians chapter 3, and I just wanted to emphasize verse 17 and verse 19. If you look at it with me, verse 17, that Christ may dwell in your heart by faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and depth and height of God's love. To know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God. Essentially, my story goes a little bit like this. First of all, I'm totally ignoring my notes, because I feel like the Lord wants me to be just chill and laid back. Honestly, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have worn a suit. Might have had my boots on. But, I want to blend in. And some of you probably feel the same way. Hopefully you wouldn't come in your PJs, of course. But my story is like this. I was born in Trinidad, West Indies. If you don't know where that is on the northern coast of South America, near Brazil, Costa Rica, Venezuela. It's kind of Central America. I am part Spanish. My grandfather was some kind of Spanish man. Honestly, I don't know where he was from. I know he didn't speak much English, but somehow him and Grandma, they hooked up, you know what I'm saying, and got together, and I'm here today as a result. Now, God's story of love in my life goes kind of like this. As a kid, I've been through a lot in my life, right? And I've been through so much, honestly, I can't even give you all the details. And some of you can probably relate because you've been through a lot yourself. If any of you have seen the movie Antoine Fisher, any of you seen that movie? I'm kind of glad not many of you have seen it. But that's very much related to my life. When I saw that movie, it made me say, wow, this is like me, So, essentially, abuse in many ways. In the movie Antoine Fisher, the gentleman, he said, he was speaking to a therapist, and the therapist was saying, how did you go through all this? What was your life like? And the word he said was, rainy days. Rainy days. And that makes me think of Berrien Springs in winter. And I would call it dark and overcast days with no sunlight and no sense of warmth ever. Unless you can get in the house, hopefully, But it's cold, it's dark, it's dismal, it's depressing, you know? And that was kind of my life as a child growing up. Thankfully, my parents had a relationship with God. And what that meant, or what that looked like, is my mother, of course, the nurturer, she would tell us about the Bible and reading the Bible. And my father, he would basically go outside every morning early and pray and talk to God in nature. And me just seeing that, how they dealt with their issues and how they shared their faith, made me have a faith that there is a God and that He loves me. Okay, so I went through a lot. It was rough, it was tough. In Trinidad, I went to a Catholic church. And the Catholic church, I'm going to go faster because it'll be a long day if I don't. The Catholic church where I lived was kind of like the church that's next door. You know what I mean? It's the closest church to my door where I live. Okay, it's nearby. So we went to that one. Why not, right? And while I was there, I would observe the priests, and I would see them with these gold cups, and they would take the cup representing the wine of Christ's blood and the wafer and so on, and it'd be like this in these really big, great, spectacular pontifical robes. And I thought to myself, as a little kid, maybe 5, do they even know you, Father? And for me, it's significant because what does a little kid know about God, right? That's what we tend to think. But from the smallest age, children can have a relationship with God. And what is a relationship with God anyway? It's just a connection with God. It's like if you have a relationship with your friend, you have a connection, something that draws you guys together. And because of this connection, you become closer. Maybe closer than you might be with somebody else, say in your class or even in church. So I developed early a relationship with God because I had to. 1, I was going through a lot, and 2, I saw it in my parents. So in Trinidad, I was in a Catholic church asking those questions, and I even disagreed with some of the things I was hearing from I had to go to Catholic school. It was kind of like a setting kind of like this, classrooms. And I had to go to school and learn the Bible. The problem is what I was reading for myself in the Bible contradicted with what I was being taught. So all of these things made me be a little bit aloof to what I was learning in the church. About 5 years later, I come to the U.S. and I went to a Pentecostal church. Now, this Pentecostal church was very much like the Catholic church in that, sorry, this may sound harsh, okay? It was very boring for a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old by then. It was very boring for me. Like the style, I'm African American, and I guess I like the energy of a black church, whatever that means. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, so when I came here at 10, I went to a Pentecostal church, which I thought would be lively and great. But actually the issue was, it was all like really old people in there, and they didn't really want to have any fun anymore. So as a result, I didn't have any fun. But we left that church, we went to another Pentecostal church. It was the direct opposite of this Pentecostal church. It was the opposite of that other church. And so people were like running in the aisles, catching the Holy Ghost. The women was like running and rolling on the floor. No, 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 on the floor. They were rolling on the floor and catching the Holy Ghost. Okay, quote unquote. Catching the Holy Ghost. And speaking in tongues, quote unquote. And so it was a really exciting experience for me, you know what I mean? I mean, even if the message wasn't biblical, you had a great time. There was a lot of excitement. And so this was kind of my spiritual experience, learning and observing what God is like. Pastor Ron, you here? I might need some of your help right now, man. Pastor Ron, if you guys know Pastor Ron, we've been studying together, and he's been a real support to me in terms of helping me to put my thoughts together and also to study the Word. If you guys do not know about Pastor Ron, my man studies the Bible. And I know you guys have a Bible study every Friday night. You guys have to come to that. It is so heavy. All right, that was a little interjection. So, my Father God. I'm just going to talk to him for 1 second. And I hope you guys are listening, because this is the relationship that we have with each other. Father, I just thank you, Lord, for your goodness and for your mercy and for your grace. Thank you for your patience and for your kindness, for your goodness and your love. Father, your love is so great, so wide, so deep, so high and lofty, Lord. But yet you condescend to come into my life, into our life, Lord, and let us know about your great love. In John 3:16, your word says that you so loved the world that you gave your only Son. You gave your Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. We confess, Lord, that we have a belief problem. Father, we vacillate between belief and unbelief, between faith and doubt. But Lord, you know where we are. You see us and you hear us no matter what we're going through, and you are able to meet us in the middle of our problems. I'm going to skip a lot of stuff here and just go to the story of how I met my wife, how I became an Adventist. I'm from New York. Did I mention that? Okay. I moved to New York when I came to the United States, and Long Island, New York. And in New York, you gotta walk different, you gotta act different, you gotta be different. And sometimes I wonder if I still know how to be New York, you know what I mean? Because I've been in Berea Springs like a long time. 7 years I've been in Berea Springs. Every year I go back to New York, I realize I can't even drive anymore because I'm like hesitant to like go in traffic because then I'll get run over. But this is the reality. In New York, it's a hard life. You know, it's like, I don't say kill or be killed. It's not a thing like that. It's more like you have to be tough, you have to be hard. You guys understand these words? Okay, you can't be soft, right? So here I am one day, I'm taking public transportation, my leather jacket on, my scully on, it's snowing, you know what I mean? And so, I'm getting on the bus, and then my usual MO is to go to the back of the bus, which is funny, of course, because as black people, we work so hard to get to the front of the bus, but we still go straight to the back of the bus. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I go straight to the back of the bus. Now there's this Pizza Hut, no offense to Pizza Hut, okay? But what I mean is, it was this gentleman sitting there, and I'm almost moving in that direction right here, but he was really out of shape, and he looked like he's been sweating all day in the pizza shop. You know what I mean? That's how he looked. And so in other words, it's a long day, I'm tired. Should I sit next to this guy? Normally I would. Normally I would, in order to not be tempted by ladies. Any guys understand what I'm talking about? I don't know if you've actually done that, but for me it was important. Okay, so I didn't want to be tempted by the ladies, so I'd normally sit next to that guy, even though there's a pretty girl on the other side, right? This day it was just a long day, so I didn't care. I'm going to sit next to the girl today, because I just don't want to deal with the sweat and So I sat next to this girl on the bus. And you might notice about me, but I have recommitted my life to God so many times. I don't know if any of you have been there. But recommitted because I want to serve God and recommitted. And I've even been baptized a few times. I don't mean 2 times. I don't even mean 3 times. I mean a few times. I've been baptized a few times. So I even know the routine, how to get in the water, how to drop just right. I've been baptized a few times too. Anyway, I meet this girl on the bus. And I just recommitted my life to God. I said, Lord, I'm not going to look at the ladies. I'm going to keep my eyes focused on you, and I'm going to study the Word. So I get on the bus, and I open my Bible because of that commitment, because I don't even want to look at the girl, honestly. I don't even want to look at her. A lot of distractions, by the way, in New York. So guys, if you could stay out of New York, you're good. So amen, right? Somebody knows what I'm talking about. So I'm reading my Bible. I don't even remember what it was anymore, but I'm reading my Bible. It's about an hour and 15-minute trip home. So as I get on the bus, sit next to the girl, she asked me what I'm reading. I tell her what I'm reading. No, I didn't even tell her what I was reading. She asked me what I was reading. I told her 1 second, and I continued to read for the rest of the trip on the bus. I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget, I didn't realize, okay. So I continued reading, and when I was done, very spiritual, then I asked her, what did you say? and no lie, this girl proceeds to just break down the scriptures to me. She just broke it down so I did like a double take, like who is this girl? And that was my first introduction to an Adventist. Okay? Little did I know, all the Adventist kids were like her. In my observation, because when I came into the church, you'll get there. When I came into the church, though, the kids knew their Bible. You know what I'm saying? The kids knew their Bible. I mean, I knew mine pretty good too, but they knew Ellen White, I didn't have any Ellen White. So, that woman would turn out to be my wife, but before we even got there, I asked her for a number about 14 times between asking her what I would, before, how do you say that? Okay, when I had told her what I read and she explained it to me, I asked her literally for a number about 14 times. Finally got the number. There's a lesson in that about perseverance. And I got her number. She invited me to her church, and I never stopped coming. The church that I was going to prior to that, they had started off on having a relationship with God, following Jesus, submitting your life fully to Him. But they had moved from that to prosperity gospel. In other words, they had moved away from the foundation, which is Christ and His love, to something else. Back in those days, when I was in that church, there was a point where I truly had a pure, beautiful relationship with Christ. And I didn't have Ellen White, I didn't have, the 27, 28 fundamentals. I didn't know anything about, I had limited information. All I knew was John 3:16, that God so loved the world, that He gave His only Son, that whosoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Not only was that all that I had, but that's all that I used to win a whole lot of people, or at least to lead them to a closer walk with God. Of course, the Lord, we might water, but God brings the increase. But the point is this, it's not about having all 28 fundamental beliefs. Really all it's about is having a relationship with God, having a connection with God for yourself. And if you have this connection with God for yourself, the little bit of information that you have can go a long, long way. My relationship with God was powerful, man. I got to tell you a little bit about it. I used to listen to gospel music a lot. I don't really listen to it much now, which I think is, as I have contemplated it, is a tragedy. Because when I came into the church, maybe if I went to Oakwood, it would have been different, but I didn't go to Oakwood. But when I came to Andrews, people that I respected that were Christians made it seem like black gospel music was not righteous, or it was not godly, or it was not the truth, or something. And I only wanted the truth. I didn't want nothing else but the truth. So I dropped it completely, and I'm kind of black or white that way. It's like I'm gonna go all the way or nothing, basically. Maybe not in my dress, because I wear the boots if I could. But I'm either all or nothing. I'm all in or I'm not in. So I dropped it completely, and I really regret it. I really regret it. Music has a very powerful place. The lesson that I learned from dropping, I know I seem very all over the place, I'm so sorry. I actually wrote something here, but...
It's all right.
All right, you with me, right?
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Amen.
So, because I thought so black and white, either I began to see things in this light. Either you're Adventist or you're not Adventist. Either you're Saturday church or you're Sunday church. In other words, either you're in the truth or you're not. Either you're God's or you're not. Either you're real or you're not. Either God is with you or he's not. And this is how we began to look at people in the Sunday church. If you're, or people that played this type of music, you're not, I didn't tell them, you're not of God. As far as I was concerned, you're not of God. Okay? Because you listen to that black music or you're not of God. It sounds funny to hear me say that when you listen to that black music. It's okay. You see, I want God and I want the truth more than my culture, my race, my skin color, which I think is irrelevant. Anyway, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Please, please, please. I mean, there was a time where I was willing to kill, believe it or not, because I had built with a lot of Hebrew Israelites and a lot of other guys that felt, black power, back to Africa, and a lot of crazy stuff. But the truth is, Jesus Christ is the only thing that keeps us together. In the verse in Ephesians, it's talking about the love of God converting us and changing us. And really, the whole book of Ephesians is talking about our oneness in the love of God. Amen. And irregardless of what you think in terms of black and white, God doesn't have the problems we have with people and churches. God does not have a problem with people that go to church on Sunday. We might, but God doesn't have that problem. God doesn't have a problem with people that keep Sunday sincerely believing that that is his Sabbath day. God doesn't have a problem. We put God in these boxes in the way that we think. When it comes to music, God does not have a problem. He does not have a problem whether it's black music, whether it's Caucasian music, whether it's Hawaiian, whether it's Malaysian. God does not have the problem with our music as much as we think he does. You see, God can reach us wherever we are, and there is a place that he's taking us. But he's not taking us from black to white. He's taking us from death to life, from ourselves to him. And this is God's real purpose. I apologize for all the I was doing a presentation in my class, and I said to this girl, "You did a great job, but you used so many arms, except for the arms." I apologize for the arms. I did it again. Okay. I apologize for that thing that I just did. God is good, and I just want to share a few texts with you. Okay, I'm going to work on the arms. Just want to share a few texts with you, and I want you to really ponder and think about what it is saying to you. You guys, everyone should know this text, "The Lord is my shepherd." Would you guys mind reading this with me, by the way? I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The point of this text is, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've been through, the Lord is our shepherd, and He is with you, and He will bring you through any test that you're going through in your life. In Isaiah 26 and verse 3, it says, you guys, just read them with me if you don't mind. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. We just need to put our hope, our faith, our trust in God no matter what we're going through, and God will show Himself faithful. There are times when you might feel that God has failed you, that God has let you down, you prayed and you didn't get an answer. You came here to Andrews and the people were rude. You came here to Andrews and nobody helped you. You had no food, you barely had enough money to pay your rent, and nobody was there. The church was not there for you. You might feel this way, but I tell you that God is a faithful God. Continue to have faith, continue to trust Him, continue to believe Him, and He will show Himself faithful. I have a pet peeve when it comes to international students. And my pet peeve isn't with the international students, but the national students that don't seem to notice the international students. Because so many international students come here, like I said, no money, barely the clothes on their backs, no food, and we see them, but nobody prays and asks God, Father, what can I do to help these people? What can I do to help this guy that I see pass me every day, or this lady that I see pass me every day? And if we call ourselves Christians, we are supposed to think in these ways. We're supposed to be able to say, you know what, Lord, I see a need. How can I help with this need? You know what, though? I don't really blame us. You know why? I consider myself a national student as well, okay? I was born in Trinidad, I know, but I'm actually a citizen. And I actually grew up here. I have a lot more years in the United States. I consider myself American as well. But my point is this. Unless the Lord changes the heart, unless He restructures and remakes the source of the stream of life that is in you, unless you are changed, we are changed from within, our desire, our ability to be willing to help and love others in these ways are going to be restrained. And it's because self is still very much alive. We are still not dead to self. And when we are dead to self, honestly, when people say, let's go to the senior citizens home and visit the senior citizens, we're not going to feel like, do I have to? No, because your heart will be changed. The springs will be changed. The springs of life will be changed and converted. And bubbling out of you, you'll be like, oh man, I really want to go. I really want to go. Because God is living in you. This is what Jesus is talking about when He said, I in you and you in me, as I am in the Father and the Father is in me. So, if any of you are here like me, I've had this problem, and you have a problem when they call you to go to the senior citizens home, or you don't think, how can I help my brother, my sister? There's good news. No matter where we've been, God is able to bless us. No matter where we've been, God is able to change us if we open our hearts and our minds to him. You see, God is real. God is a living God, and he's real. Jesus Christ is like you and me right now. He's alive and well. Okay? He just wants us to make up our mind about it. With me, guys, for as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater, so shall my word that goeth forth out of my mouth. And it shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I have pleased. It shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Now, I skip part of my story. I'll just add it real quick. From a young age, I was called into ministry, believe it or not. I still struggle with preaching. I still struggle with getting up here. You know, if I was down here talking to you guys one-on-one, I'd probably have a lot to say. But when I come up here, it's like, I don't know how to talk. So I don't know. But so maybe, no, I'm not going to have doubt. I'm not going to entertain.
Preach.
I'm not going to entertain fear or doubt. I will say this though. I learned a hard lesson. God's word and our words are so potent that you can talk yourself out of your own dreams. And I'm a case in point, actually. I went to the seminary, right? Studied theology. But while I was there, friends would ask me to come and preach at their church. And I would say, I don't know, I'm really scared. I don't like getting in front of people. I'm afraid. Ron, is this true? Okay. I'm afraid. And you guys can probably tell that story. And so I literally talked myself out of it. And I didn't realize that this was what I was doing. But our words are very powerful. And it is very important that you speak words of life and truth. These things that are spoken of in the scripture, when it says speak life, it is because God is telling us this is how the principles of life actually work. This is how things actually work. Everything in the Bible is true. It's not a fairy tale book. This is not Harry Potter. This is the real deal about life and how it works. And if we would follow and see God in the Word, we would be completely changed. Now, obviously, I am completely changing. I'm in a process, but I am completely changing because even my words are changing. Now, I had talked myself out of seminary. I ran from the ministry into social work. And how's that? Social work, there's no money. You're gonna get your hands dirty. You got to deal with the poor people. Okay? I'm poor too, actually. So, but you got to deal with the poor people, the homeless people, whatever. And that was my attitude when I started. But even when we're railroaded, even when we go off track from God, God still has us right in the palm of his hands where he wants us to go. His word will not prosper. His will, his plans, his purposes will not fail, even if you try to run like my man Jonah. Okay? You try to go, God says go east, Jonah goes west, ends up in a whale. And then he still does what God wants him to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't run. You cannot run. You cannot run. You cannot hide. Okay? You can't run. God's will be done. But it's easier if we follow God without kicking and screaming. Because we're kicking and screaming all the time. God, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You know how little kids start to get a tantrum? I don't want to do it, God. And that's been me for a long time. That's why I ran into social work. But God had a plan. He taught me compassion for people. He taught me to look at the international students and other people that are my brothers and sisters. And if I was in their country, I could only imagine the love that I would receive. Now I'm looking at the time. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to wrap it up. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Did we read this one?
Trust in the
Trust in the
Lord
Lord
with all thy heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him,
and he shall direct your paths. I think I'll end with that. That's a very important verse. It was with me from a child. Thank you. Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory in the church by Christ Jesus throughout all ages, world without end. Amen.
Amen.